step on the land. I've got your hand, and now we're way down, fade out low. Was it your plan? Can't understand. I love the air you bring, everything. Under the sun, our fire is burning. You tell me to hold on tight. I wish that we could stay here forever. I wanna remember. Oh, the sight of you
Been on the streets a few months. I'm trying to pick myself up. I may be living alone, but I still believe in love. And although my flaws had dragged me down on the coldest night, I'm still kicking around. Then I saw you back before my time was short and no. Throughout my life, you've called me a renegade. Throughout my loves, you said we could start again, but I'm a renegade of your love. But I'm a renegade of your love. Renegade of your love. But I'm a renegade of throughout my life, you called me a renegade, a renegade, a renegade, a renegade, I have a confession that you're my obsession. You're pulsing through me. The blood is rushing and I am trusting you'll come save me. My knees are feeling weak. Your body's close to me. I want you to come rescue me. Won't you come and rescue me? My knees are feeling weak. Your body's close to me. I want you to come rescue me.
If it's silent in dismay, it won't break this feeling down. If I conquer this my way, I'd devour, I'd surround. If it hurts you just a little, then it heals you when it's done. Disappointment is the anchor, resolution is the sun. Silent
Thank you guys so much for coming. So glad that you're here.
This
Thank
feeling
you.
Down. If I conquer this my way,
beautiful. And then just like open them so people know that they're available. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hi. Good. Super excited.
Let's dive into this. So you're probably sitting here wondering, like, what are we doing? What is this? How does this work? Am I off? Oh, it's been on.
Yeah, I thought you sounded pretty quiet, which isn't normal for you.
Yeah, early. I don't even know if I could laugh at either, or was it not funny?
I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Testing 1, 2. Now I'm on. Okay. Now I don't have to be as loud. Yeah. You are at WTF. Let me explain what that means. Worth the follow. We are a media production company that is all about live events. There's so much content that goes on right now that seems to be kind of lacking human connection, right? And so our whole thought was, let's bring humans back into the room. right? So rather than just sitting in some podcast studio having an interview, let's have a very real interview while we're going through this, troubleshooting a few things while we're going here. And like, you're going to find we haven't started yet. We're chatting right now. What you're going to find is all of you that are sitting in the room here with us, you're a part of the show. You're a part of this experience. This is going to get live streamed here in just a few minutes when we go live.
So feel free to laugh, feel free to cry, make noises. It makes the whole atmosphere feel better and more fun.
Yeah, and so let's dive into this. Kind of couple things that we can do tonight and kind of explain how this is going to go through. So we got engaged about a month and a half ago.
Can you tell?
Yes, as in this. Oh, now they clap for that. Thank you. For me, it was like I finally did it. I'm in Utah, 33 years old, never married, no kids, and I had a lot of people that were very worried about me, right? Including myself, right? And I just guess I didn't know along the whole way that I was waiting for this pretty incredible girl to come into my life. And my life was flipped upside down in all the best of ways about a year and a half ago when we met. And we decided, we're like, you know what? We want to have an intentional relationship. We want to build our marriage on a foundation of strength. And so what better way we want to interview couples that are winning, couples that are going through life together, all that entails, the ups and downs. And what does it mean to be fully engaged, right?
Yeah. You know, people who, I think tonight we have pretty incredible couples and incredible stories. A lot of you might know their stories or have been following them for a while. You know, this hits home to me because there's a theme tonight of, this is my daughter right here, her name's Amara.
She's the only kid that's alive here, you know?
But tonight does hit home for me because there's a theme of loss, which you'll find. For those of you who don't know my story, but I actually lost my own son in a drowning accident a few years ago. And
you need me to talk now. We also need to fix your mic here. We're having some mic issues here with your mic, but that's okay.
Oof.
There we go. That better?
Yeah, that's better.
Right as you go to cry. Go ahead, cry again. What were you saying?
So his name is Romeo, and he's been my little angel on the other side. He's brought me so many miracles. He's brought me this man right here, and he continues to be an amazing, amazing person in my life. He's still a part of my family. And we have ways that we honor him every single day in our home, in our family, in our lives. So it's really cool to see these two couples come on and see how they navigate through their relationships, through what they've been through and what that looks like for them.
Yeah, the dynamic was pretty interesting. I met her only about a year and a half after that accident, and if you know Bree, like so much light, so much energy, so much love, it just comes off of her. And then I found out her story. And I'm like, wait, this doesn't add up, right? Like, how is that the case? And she has taught me like that light and loss and love and joy and grief and pain can all exist in the same moment and at the same time. And that's definitely been a theme of this show. We've only released the first 3 episodes so far, so you can go online, you'll see our first 3 episodes. And then actually next week, we are basically releasing all of season 1. We have 12 episodes that we've done so far, so it's kind of more like a TV show where you'll see 12 episodes, go binge it. It's better than Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I promise. Right? Go binge those 12 interviews. It's awesome. He's disagreeing with me, I can tell. No, but 12 episodes there. And actually tonight, this is the first filming of what will go out as season 2. So these interviews and the batch that we have the rest of June, awesome, amazing couples lined up. And into July, we'll go out as season 2.
And the first 3 episodes, by the way, are our story.
Yeah, so if you want to go hear our story, it's kind of her story. She talks a lot about what she learned through that and the two of us. The second episode is called My Little Wingman. That little guy set us up, right? He was very, very much in the details of orchestrating the two of us coming together. We talked through that. It's pretty awesome. So anyway, feel free to go watch that after tonight if you want to go hear a little bit more of our story. But tonight, let's jump into the interviews. Before we do that, let's talk about some of the just logistics of how the night's going to work. So tonight, you're actually going to watch 2 episodes get filmed. So we have 2 couple interviews that we will do. The first, we have Chris and Natalie Jones, who are going to come up here in just a little bit. I'll talk about about their story in just a minute when we go to intro them and turn the cameras on. And then BK and Tragan White, they are going to be our second interview of the night. We do about a 40-minute interview, so about a 40-minute interview when we come up here. Then we'll do about a 10-minute intermission, take a break. There's bathrooms outside down that hallway. Then we'll come up, do the second interview, and they'll be done for the night, and you can chill, hang out, and do whatever you need here. As far as kind of how you interact, like I said, this is a live audience. We want that feeling to be there as you're there, but there's also something kind of unique that we invite you to do. If you look around at this studio, do you have any idea how many cameras we have the capability to film tonight with? Take a look. Any guesses? He's saying 4. All right, it's more than that, a lot more than that. I'm looking around right now. I think we have about 40 to 45 cameras that we can use. How many of you in the room have an iPhone? Yeah. All right. You're in a content studio. And the kind of content we like to film here is we want to show that there are people in the audience feeling this experience. So we invite you throughout the night to take little videos, take moments, and not only do we ask you to post those and share those on social media, but at the end of the night, we'll actually put a QR code up, and we actually ask that you upload those to us at the end of the night, because that actually is the most, those are the coolest reels and Instagram shorts and things like that we put out. Because anyone can do a talking head in a podcast interview, but we want to show that there's humans in the room experiencing this. And then just so you know as well, we have multiple other shows that are on different nights that do this recurring that we're just starting. We're actually, just today, we got approval, or we started the process of becoming a nonprofit. So we're going to have some different events and things here all built around content that's created live with people. We call it a live interactive media experience, and that's what you're about to experience tonight, okay? So, got anything else, Bree, before we get going?
No, I'm ready. I'm a little nervous right now, so don't mind me.
All right. Okay, well, let's get started here. We're going to kind of reset. You'll see us kind of talk to the cameras here as we introduce this couple. We'll get this couple up and we'll get going. Everyone ready to go?
And then there's snacks. We got cookies and things, so feel free to have any snacks and waters.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, Hunter, we got everything, all systems a go.
Start this in 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fully Engaged. I'm Connor DeLynn.
I'm Briosha.
And we have an awesome audience in the crowd here tonight. We just started talking to them for a few minutes, and we kind of have a cool theme to this night.
Yes.
Two couples, not necessarily on purpose, that it came together. Two couples that loss is very much a part of their story, something that we talk about a lot on this show, and two couples that are really have shown that joy and pain and grief and love, and it can exist at the same time.
Right, totally. And honestly, the first couple that we're having on, they also lost their son as well. I'm excited to hear from them. My loss with my own son is quite recent, within the last 3 years. And they lost their son about 10 years ago, is that right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I can learn from them personally. And yeah, I feel like tonight's going to be a great night.
Cool. I do think we want to do this. We don't necessarily do this all the time, but for this show, we recognize that there are going to be spirits there of those on the other side that are going to join us here that always do in these moments, and we invite them here. And we actually thought, just to get started here tonight, that we'd take just a quick moment of silence, of presence, of gratitude as we step into that, in remembering Kim, in remembering Mitchell, remembering Romeo, and anyone else here that you might feel close to, that we can kind of have that shared moment, and then we'll jump into this interview, all right? Thank you. Now, with that said, we invite them to be here with us, but the stars of the show are the two couples that we're going to have here tonight. And we want to hear what it means for them to be fully engaged. Our first couple is Chris and Natalie Jones. They went through the experience of their son, Mitchell, being diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, had about a 7-year battle with muscular dystrophy and passed, I think it was 12 years ago. Is that right? 11 years ago. Okay, I knew it was in that range. And they not only shared that story along the way of resilience, of hope, of positivity, of smiling through it all, but also have had the opportunity to turn that into a cause, turn that into a foundation, turn that into opportunity to take platforms all over the world and be able to share his story and theirs. We're so excited to have them on.
And I'm curious, out of everyone here, go ahead and raise your hand if you're already familiar with their story.
Okay, cool. So a lot of people followed Mitchell's journey. That's what we can say, right? Okay, well, without further ado, come on up on the stage.
Woo!
Chris and Natalie Jones, give them a round of applause. Thanks, guys. I'm going to give you this chair. Okay, perfect. All right.
Cool. Just have your
How are we
water.
doing, you two?
Doing great.
Good. You ever done anything like this before?
Never.
It's kind of funny. We did the first show like this, and we thought that we were making up something completely new. And then we finished, and someone was like, "Oh, that's a talk show." We're like, "I guess it's done. I guess you just typically only see it in New York and LA."
But it's a talk show in Lehigh, Utah.
Yes, the first time live audience right here in Lehigh, right?
Love
so, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. Thanks
Yeah,
for the invite.
and you're from Utah. You live here close, right?
We live in Harriman.
Okay.
I'm from Utah, from Farmington, Utah specifically, and he's from Canada.
Cool. What part of
Yeah.
Canada?
Vancouver.
All right. Do you still say sorry a lot?
Sorry.
All right. Well, we always like to start with this question: how did the two of you meet?
All right, who's going to answer? I guess I'll go first. We met in college about 28 years ago, I think. Yeah, 28. And I thought he was a player. I wasn't interested. And so for about a year, we just we knew of each other, but we didn't quite engage. And then when we started dating, we just really talked a lot. We had a short little dating section of life, and I feel like we got to know each other just by talking. We just talked every time we could.
Yeah.
Every time we got together.
It was really easy for you guys to have things in common or talk over things.
Yes.
Was there something different about him when you first met him, or
Well,
that you're like, okay, he's different?
when I first saw him, I was like, had this experience where I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna marry him. But I was like, that's so weird
After
to
you,
say.
after you got over him being a player.
Wait, first time you met him, you knew that?
Well, I had this initial thought, but I put it away. I put it away because I was like, that's so weird to think.
What did he look like then? I mean, now we see the
Oh my
beard,
gosh.
we see the ponytail. Was it then too?
No.
She says I look like retired Santa right now.
Kind of Hawaiian Santa.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, he had a different look, different vibe. Yeah. Yeah. I'm fully trying to get over this look. I love it. I love it.
Over the look.
Yes.
But it's this long, so this has been a long battle of getting over it, I can tell.
Maybe that's the wrong way to say it. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I've heard they love the looks.
I do. It's fun. Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
fun. It's just different.
All right, so you knew pretty early on. What about you?
I didn't have the feeling she had immediately, but I was like, wow, she's really pretty. And, I was student body president at this college, and I was really interested in her. She worked at a law firm. She was a paralegal, and she'd walk by the hall, and her perfume was so amazing, and she looked so cute. And I'd tell my buddies, I'm like, dude, I got to ask her out. And then, she was total cat and mouse game for a while. And
That's a thing, by the way. Cat and mouse is totally a thing.
it is. And, it actually made me more interested in her because she was hard to catch.
Yes.
And
The story of my 15 years of bachelorhood.
yeah, so she was, but then we got to a point where we started, we'd go on a date or two here, and I'd call her up and I'd be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? She goes, well, I have plans. And obviously, without a script, she would never tell me, she taught me early on, you don't need to explain yourself to anybody. And so she did that with me. She goes, I got plans. And I'm like, okay, who's she taking out? Who's she dating? And, I had no claim to her yet, And so, but anyway, at some point, we had a friend that this was the last kind of things. I said, hey, you want to go hang out? And she said, well, I'm going to go play tennis with this guy. And my heart just went boom, hit the floor. And then I had to, no, it wasn't bad. Like we weren't dating.
But that's when you knew you liked her.
That's when I knew I had to, put a ring on it.
Game, set, match. Are you a tennis player? Are you a tennis player?
Oh,
cute
not
tennis
a pro.
Okay,
but I
she's a
love
tennis
it.
player. We're both
Okay,
tennis players. That's what you're asking. Okay.
Okay, we'll have
But
to play a match.
that
We
locked
will
him
have
down.
to go play.
It did. I got a racket that night.
That's
I
awesome.
bought a racket. I was ready to go.
Yeah, you did.
So you said you dated short, so you must have gotten married pretty quick then. That was the
We
code
did.
word.
Yeah.
How fast?
Well, her dad, I went to ask her dad for hand in marriage, a tradition, and he said, well, I'd really love it if you guys waited a little longer, because we dated maybe sincerely 4.5, 5 months. And we were engaged 4.5, 5 months, and we dated only a few months prior to that. So
Okay.
7 months maybe total
Yeah.
of really seriously getting to know each other. So he said, well, I'd love it if you'd put off the date. And I said, okay, well, we'll think about it. And then we realized her older brother couldn't make it, so we just pushed the wedding off a week. And he always jokes with us about that. you
Yeah.
know.
So that was.
That was my compromise.
Yeah, you
Only a
did.
week.
I'll wait one more week.
I'll wait a week.
I love it.
I'm not waiting anymore.
That's awesome.
So when did you know that she was the one?
It kind of happened gradually.
Yeah, she was like,
And all at once, very quickly, I found her to be a person of depth. And, I think relationships are a bit of luck and acquired skill. you
Right.
know? And I think I lucked out. I hit the jackpot because we were fundamentally compatible. Not to say that things haven't been hard and we don't, have arguments or whatever, like every normal couple. But we were just really, I knew within 2 dates, 3 dates. Yeah.
It's awesome. It just feels kind of different when oh, this is for real.
Then it gets a little scarier because you're like, ooh, this is the real deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you get married. Talk to us about, obviously we want to get into Mitchell's journey. I'll use that phrase, right? But what was life like prior to even having kids and starting that? What were maybe some of the struggles or ups and downs?
Who's going to start?
Well, we're poor as church mice, and so we lived in a basement apartment filled with spiders of every kind, and it was amazing. But, we learned to just get by with nothing and realized that we were the richest people on earth. We just enjoyed our time together, and we'd walk across the street to 7-Eleven and, rub the few quarters we had to go buy a Slurpee on a date night,
Right.
And that was fun.
You guys always knew that you wanted kids together or wanted a child?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we wanted lots, but I don't know what lots means. It's different for everybody, but
Yeah.
we wanted a bundle of children, yeah.
Yeah. And you have 3, is that right?
Well, we have 4 counting Mitchell.
4 counting, okay,
Yes.
I thought it was 3 counting Mitchell. Okay, 4
Yes.
counting Mitchell.
Yeah, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did Mitchell fit in that?
So Mitchell was our 3rd child. So we have Laura Ashley, who's our oldest, my only girl, and then I have Ethan, and then Mitchell, and then my youngest Wyatt, who's
Okay.
graduated. So we're almost
Okay.
empty nesters. Yeah.
All right. How did becoming parents change you both?
I had a moment in the shower when we found out she was pregnant, and I'll never forget this. There's some moments in life that you just permanently burn into your mind, and I'm sitting there washing my hair, and my heart hit the floor. And I was so scared. I'm now going to be responsible for another life, and I still felt very much like a child myself,
How old were you at this point?
Too young.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can relate.
It's odd because we get married so young in our community and culture that we don't even know ourselves, let alone the partner we're marrying. And so again, luck. But I was so scared for a moment, and then that lasted maybe a minute or two. I had a momentary existential crisis, and then I was like, this is it. I've always wanted to be a dad, but it's one thing to think about it and have it actually happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
And for me, I always wanted to be a mom. It's like what I dreamed of was to be a mom. I knew that was my destination in life, was to be a mom. I guess we can get to things later, but yeah, I wanted to be a mom. It was like my goal.
no, go.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes into our next part of,
Yeah,
of
let's go there.
the journey of our story, but it definitely wasn't it wasn't what I thought it would be, right? It's a lot harder. Yeah. So, we got married and then we had kids right away. So I feel like we kind of molded together into what our life is now, and
How is it harder? I'm curious.
how.
I mean, I think I know the answer, but like, you want that your whole life, and then you're that maybe different than you expect. In what way?
Definitely different than what you expect. You kind of you have this kind of Pollyanna view of like what motherhood could be sometimes, your things just aren't always perfect, right? And at first, it's just you have a baby, you're up all night, you're up all day trying to just figure out motherhood, and trying to just give this little soul the best life. And sometimes you're like, should I have done this? Should I have not done this? But I've learned that there's no right or wrong. I guess there is a wrong way, but you just kind of navigate it authentically, and every child needs something different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Have any of you ever seen Wild Robot? That's a new movie out on Disney. I watched Wild Robot and I was just crying. The way that they described motherhood from this robot's perspective. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but
I came home and she's like, I got to tell you the whole script of Wild Robot. I got a 15-minute breakdown of the show.
no, it's really good. Being a mother, I think it's something that you don't know until you're in it.
Yes.
And there's no playbook. There's no description on this is what you do. And it's like you're responsible for these teeny humans in their lives, and then you have a picture of what their life is going to look like, and then life actually gets in the way of it.
Yeah.
So Mitchell, he was 3 years old when you found out that, what was it that he had?
Muscular dystrophy.
Yes. Yeah. So he had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is, there's multiple different kinds of muscular dystrophy, but this one is primarily in males and in the sons, and the mother passes it on to her son.
Oh.
So, but we learned that's generally the pathway, but we learned that I was not a carrier at the time. But I'm not a carrier, but we all have these mutated genes that we could potentially pass on to our children. But he was diagnosed at 3, and I was also pregnant at the time.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, just barely pregnant. So that kind of threw me off, knowing that you pass it on to your son. And so that kind of, I was dealing with a diagnosis, and I was also dealing with a pregnancy that could potentially be a boy and a son, so that I could have another son that could have this. So.
And what do they, so to go medical for a minute, so
Yes.
you get that diagnosis, what do they tell you? What does that mean? The doctors, of course, are going to give you the negative side of things, and you're going to battle the hope, right? Like, what was those conversations like?
I was heading to a business meeting at the time. I was just a young entrepreneur that barely knew where the ground was, just sorting things out. And she said, hey, the doctor wants you to come in. She went to take Mitchell in for a checkup. Natalie's older sister is a pediatric physical therapist and was starting to detect little breadcrumbs that he looked normal, but things were, if you didn't have the eyes to see them, you wouldn't notice them until he was a little older. So I said, well, hey, why don't you just patch me in and I'll just listen in and I can hear it. They said, no, you need to be here. And I sensed immediately something was up. So I run over to one of those electronic stores like Radio Shack, and I grabbed a little recorder thinking this is important. I don't know what's going on. And so I went in and I recorded the meeting, and with the doctor's permission. And she said, your son has muscular dystrophy. And she started to tell us what that meant. And I kept asking her, what? I had to ask her 3 times to describe it because we were so overwhelmed. And, ostensibly it's, your son has a muscle wasting disease. It's catastrophic. There's no escape.
Oh my gosh.
And he will die from it. And they typically die, you know, in their mid-20s. And the journey to that end is really tough. And we'll talk about that. But, you know, that was overwhelming. You know, we were used to, our medical care for our kids was Band-Aids and Neosporin and chicken nuggets, you know. You know, and that's what made our kids feel better. But now we were thrust into a medical program that was, you know, black belt stuff.
Yeah.
And it was tough.
I think that's interesting, your intuition to get a recorder, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really good intuition, because you get in those types of, yeah, you know, appointments, or all of a sudden you're getting that sort of diagnosis, your brain goes away, and all of a sudden now not only are you dealing with the emotional news of it, but then the very practical, what does this mean? What's the game plan? What do we do next, right?
Yeah.
And often there isn't a whole lot of buffer time in between those two.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it was weird because Mitchell was, he was young enough. Usually they don't detect muscular dystrophy of this kind until they're a bit older, when they start to stumble and fall a lot. And usually they're about 7, 8 years old before it manifests. So he's only 3 at the time, looked like a normal kid. And one of the hard parts for us is that I remember family members, really close family, we love them, but they're like, oh, everything's fine, you know. Look at him, he's great. And we're like, oh my gosh, you know, like we're tied to a train track now, and we can see the train coming. And we're not like being fatalists, but we're being realists, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, we began to struggle with the kind of tension of grief, anticipatory grief, that other people weren't ready to meet us there because everything looked okay. And in our
Wow.
hearts were like, you know, already imagining what was going to come.
Wow. So as Mitch got older, what did that look like for you to describe to him what was going on, or what he had, or what his life would look like?
Well, Mitchell, his cute little personality,
Yeah.
just a cute little, he worries a lot, he plans, he thinks a lot, so we didn't talk to him so much about it because we just wanted him to enjoy life to the fullest. We want him to be a kid. We don't want him to worry about these things that could come and will come. And so it was almost hard to look at him. He looked so normal, and we're like, he is going to have this life that the doctors had explained to us. So.
But we progressively explained to him what was happening. He knew he had a muscle wasting disease, but we didn't, I mean, you don't talk to a 6-year-old about what's going to happen when they're 23, you know? So we measured how we shared information.
And
know.
you didn't think that any of the symptoms would come until he was about 13, right? Is that what you said?
Well, you know, they'll start stumbling and having a hard time walking by the age of 7, 8. And it's all different with children, but within a range, you know, they'll by the time they're in their teens, they typically can't lift their hands to feed themselves, and late teens, they can be on, you know, trachs to help them breathe and stuff. So it gets tough.
You used the word anticipatory grief.
Yes.
Did you I'm guessing you didn't make that up. That's a thing.
It is.
Tell me, like, how do you deal with that, right? And in comparison, like, her grief is sudden. In a moment, everything's fine and your whole world's flipped in one moment, right? And the flip side of now years of just this impending doom, right? And especially not even being able to share it, not seeing it's wrong. Like, how did you wrestle with that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard for me. It was hard. You know, there's the stages of grief, and I feel like part of that was dealing with that grief, you know, just those stages of grief. But I'm grateful for it because it really helped me to deal with the feelings that I was feeling, but also accept what was going to happen. But yeah, go ahead.
You know, I think that, you know, what I saw in Natalie is she would anticipate the next milestone, and the milestones are never good. You know, it's always less. And so when you're anticipating that, you're beginning to go through that grief cycle again. You know, the denial, the bargaining, and all the things we do again and again and again. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And there's a certain isolation, at least in this particular diagnosis, when they don't manifest yet. you know, it's hard. You feel extra alone because people won't meet you where you're hurting, and they just deny it. You know, like, hey, you're gonna be fine, slap on the back, and we're falling apart on the inside. But,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
What was your thought process in how public you wanted to be with it, right? Because you could have just said, we're not going to tell a soul, and they won't know, they won't notice until maybe later on, right? Like, what was that thought?
Well, you know, I think we were pretty private people. We don't share our stories really ever, except for Mitchell. We just, for some reason, felt compelled to, became our therapy to talk about it, you know? But,
Kind of like an online journal?
yeah, pardon?
Like an online journal,
An
maybe?
online journal, yeah. It was sort of my therapy personally.
Right.
Like
I relate to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. After the diagnosis and the grief and everything that was going on, how did that take a toll on your relationship? How did that manifest in you guys as a couple?
I think it personally drew us closer, you know, because we had a common challenge. It got us to rally around that. And how do we help our son live the best life we can? And,
Right.
you know, we didn't focus on the negative. We really tried to just help Mitchell live the best life he could and feel as empowered as we could possibly make him. And, you know, in addition to that, we were also very cognizant of our other children, because a lot of times a kid with a serious or complex medical issue, the other kids become orphans, you know, and we didn't want our other children to feel orphaned.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
How did you talk to them about it, and how did they handle that?
you know, can I just say, like, I think it was progressive too. It was, you know, it all happened when all the kids were young. So Mitchell's got a muscle, you know, condition, and he's not as strong as you guys, and that was about all we said. And then as it got older and the kids became more mature and capable of holding more complex realities, they began to learn more.
Oh,
Kind of teaching them compassion, but also being there for Mitch. You guys
Right.
are a blessing and an angel to Mitchell. And so I think that, you know, and feeding them information to their age level, right? And same with Mitchell, just feeding them information where they can grasp the information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his character for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you share this a lot, and I think that's what was so endearing for so many people, especially what you shared of just the light and the happiness and the positivity and smiling in the MRI, like you said, kind of mentality, right? Like, first off, let's talk a little bit about him and then the effect he had on others.
How would you describe?
Well,
And you know what, Hunter, give me some napkins over here too. I'm realizing we typically have a box of Kleenex. Like, what are we doing without
Yeah.
a box of Kleenexes
Yes.
with our interviews tonight? But they're coming.
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, Mitchell was just a light. He had this fun spirit. He loved to tease his siblings, you know, and he was also just the sweetest boy and very obedient. He was the one kid that when I said to do his chores, you know, we're going to do our chores before video games, he was the one up early doing his chores before I was even up. I see him washing the windows and reading and doing all of his things before he did his chores. He was just the most obedient boy and just wanted to be the best boy. But he was just so much fun.
It brings
Thank
paper
you.
towels. Sorry, I guess it works.
we're not fancy enough for
Don't hurt
tissues right
the under
now.
eyebrows too hard.
It's there. It'll
Yes.
work.
We always gave Mitch the nickname Mitch the manager because he was on top of everything. Like, he knew when things needed to be done, whether they were our job or his. Saturday mornings were especially fun because, like, all the older kids would be like lollygagging all day, not do their chores until like 4 p.m, and so they couldn't play video games or do anything cool. But Mitch, you know, by 7 a.m. he had done everything, and he's playing, and they thought it was an injustice. And we're like, you know, Mitch the manager's he's the CEO now. You know?
Yeah.
So was he a mama's boy or a daddy's boy?
Definitely. I feel like he was a daddy's boy.
Really?
He could not go to bed until Chris tucked him in.
Oh,
Yeah, it was one of the sweetest little things in life.
Can I just amend
Yes.
that though? I was the appendage. Like, you were the most important person in his life. You were. That's for real.
Tell us, as he started to get more and more, sick isn't the right word, but as he started to struggle more and more, right? How did that then start to affect you, knowing that anticipatory grief and the impending doom was feeling like it was coming sooner than you might have expected?
You know, it was interesting. We had, the year before he passed away, we went in for a routine echocardiogram just to figure out, you know, the heart is a muscle too. It's typically one of the later muscles affected. And we thought nothing of it. We just a routine visit. And then the doctor comes in, he says, the results this time are significantly worse than last. And profoundly so. They wanted to immediately put him on drugs.
And he was how old at this point?
9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so so they put him on medicine to try to slow the progression. Nothing worked. And so prior to that moment, he was not only doing well, he was doing better than the other kids he knew that had DMD.
Oh, okay.
And so in a way, we were playing a mind game with ourselves. We're like, well, maybe the doctors got this diagnosis wrong. Because this kid, you know, he is weaker than other kids, but he's doing so much better. Maybe he's got some other version of it, you know. And so within that year, that's when we had to really accelerate anticipatory grief. It was some distance off in the future, you know, and now all of a sudden it's at our door.
Right. And then how did you explain this to him at this point then?
I think we just said, Mitch, you know, your heart needs some help. And, you know, again, he was such a worrier, and you don't throw those burdens on a young child,
Right.
at least for us.
Right.
We wanted him to be a little boy as long as he could
And
be.
you were thinking he had a lot longer too.
Yeah, we did.
So, yeah, we just put him on the meds, and then by, you know, it was in the spring, and then by the fall, by October, you know, we had petitioned to get him a heart transplant, and that got denied. And then, you know, by January, we went and got an MRI and realized that his heart ejection fraction, which is a function of the heart pushing blood through the body, was at 4%. You know, and you go on hospice at, I think, around 30.
Wow.
And so, you know, he was hanging by a thread.
Yeah. It just turned fast.
Really fast, yeah.
Yeah. How, before we move into after his passing, how do you feel like you two changed or lived differently during those 7 years? Did it affect your life in all areas of life, and how?
It definitely affected us because everything really revolved around him and
Yeah.
saving his energy and really caring for him. Everything we did was just thinking about Mitchell and what did he need. You know, I was there, you know, dropping him off. He had this anxiety of just, you know, am I going to be taken care of? So I make sure he would with his aide and making sure I get him from his aide every day. And so all of our vacations, everything just really revolved around him. And so after his passing, it kind of was hard to just change my routine. I was just like, I got to do this for Mitchell. And I was like, oh, like that part was hard, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, our life really revolved around him. Our kids helped him, you know, get to the dinner table and those kind of things. Yeah,
Could I just add, though, at the same time, though, we tried to inject normalcy, you know, and Mitch could still walk,
Yes.
but he'd need help getting up off the floor and things like that. But, you know, we tried to just, whatever was going to happen regardless. So we just tried to live a life that was as normal as possible too.
Yeah.
if you
And
know
that's
what
what
I mean.
Mitch wanted, yeah, to be
Have a combination.
normalized, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just kind of on the back of our minds, all of our minds.
Well,
yeah.
she became the caretaker, and that was her whole identity. You know, it was like, this is my mission now, and everything I wanted in my life is now, you know, either
the
dashed
side.
or put on hold. And that was Natalie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the loss.
how did you feel that missing piece in your life immediately? Like, what was that change in your family's dynamic when he wasn't there anymore, and the whole purpose of your life for years gone?
Right. Well, first of all, just motherhood, when we talk about motherhood, because was what I wanted to be, was a mother. And, the second Mitch passed away, my immediate thought was, it was an honor to be your mom. And so, with that in mind, I had to bring motherhood and still be a mom to my 3 other kids. And so, and Mitchell loved his other siblings. And so, my focus was to bring honor to Mitchell, to be the best, still be there for my other kids amongst my own grief. And that's what I tried to do, was just be there, but we were missing Mitchell and this hole in my life. And I feel we tried to talk as much as they wanted to, and each child had their own grief journey. And sorry, I think I'm talking too much.
No, you did great.
You're not. You said he was the speaker, and we said, no, that's why I want to hear from you tonight.
So I just really turned my focus and honor Mitchell by being this, trying to be there for my kids however I needed them, for however they needed me.
First of all, thank you for sharing. As a woman, and especially as a mother, I feel like we're so self-sacrificing for our kids. So at that point where you lost Mitchell and you're grieving him, but you're there for your children, you're there for your partner, you're there for your community and your family, do you feel like you were able to even be there for yourself, or feel like you were grieving for yourself at all?
I think that's a good point. Because I did turn my focus on them and just losing myself, I guess, in a way. I think that's something that I learned, was by taking care of myself, I was actually taking care of them, but that was such a learned process for me. I learned that self-care that looked like to me was going on walks, and journaling, and really honoring my feelings. Whatever feelings that came up, I was trying to honor them, which can come out of the blue. Like, you're driving and you're crying and you have to pull over because you can't see, and just taking that moment of honoring what you're feeling allows you to let them pass and not let it fester inside, and not being the person that you want to be and need to be.
Right.
I love that. That little line you said right there of honoring that, because it's those moments pop up and it's really easy to skip past them, right? We have an interesting dynamic, and we talked about this before, right? We met when she was always in grief, right? That's always there. And I adopted grief as a little boy I didn't know, right? And I think for me, it's hard to realize sometimes just how primary that is on her mind and heart, right? And there are moments where it doesn't matter what else is going on, I can just tell with the look in her face, it's like, oh, nothing else matters right now, right? I'm like, okay, and feeling those moments, and not being afraid to sit in those times. And I think that's
that's what I've learned most about grief in watching it and in participating with it, right? Is it's unexpected often, right?
Here, this one is-
right? You want to say something? You're struggling with this interview, aren't you? I know, she's the most quiet. I've seen her in an interview on this stage before, and I can tell it's hard.
So what you said about what you said about immediately caring for your family and your kids, I relate to that a lot. Is my mic working?
Yeah, I just feel like your mic has struggled
Can you
all
guys
night
hear
for
me?
some reason.
Not really.
She's like, no. Is she on, Hunter? Go ahead.
Hello.
I just don't get why your mic is popping all the way there.
I can just talk very loud. I can do that.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyways,
Here we go. Turn that puppy on. Mic check. Oh, you
Okay.
needed that.
Is that better? Can you guys hear me?
So much
Way better? Okay.
I should be the one without a mic if this is the case on the stage.
This is cool. Basically, I was saying that I relate to you a lot in losing your child and you have these other children that you're taking care of and feeling like you need to be there for them. And for me, in my own case, I lost my son unexpectedly. And I actually was pregnant 3 months later with my little girl who's here today. And that was really healing for me and so amazing. But it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And for me, it was learning that I was able and free to grieve my son, but then also able and free to feel love and joy of creating new life too. And she is such a beautiful reminder of that for me every single day. She looks so much like him. She reminds me so much of him, especially right now. She's 2 years old. Sorry, I don't want to steal this from you guys.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, your story is really hitting home for me. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I think that's something beautiful too. When we find that we're not alone in our suffering, that there's a healing balm in that when we can identify with
Yes.
each other's stories.
Yes,
So-
there's a community, and there's so many other people out there who are going through child loss, and that's a reality for them.
Yeah.
You started sharing your story and connected to that community and have stayed connected for that community for over a decade. How has that changed your lives and your perspective on life of you're around people all the time that are going through the anticipatory grief or the grief that just occurred, whatever it might be. Why and how is that still a part of your life with the community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I took a little break because I needed a little in the last year. I've been doing my own personal work in my own healing, but I'm back. I'm writing and I'm engaged in my community, and it's interesting because there's a heavenly paradox that when you want to help yourself, you help other people, and just forget yourself and get to work helping others. And when you can help other people find a measure of healing, you heal too. And I think that was something I believed in and knew, but I never experienced it. Just like raising children, it's this abstract concept until you start experiencing it, and then it's really different. And so when I listen to people's stories, a new friend of mine that came who's experienced a loss in recent weeks, and my heart breaks for her. And I feel like if we can sit with each other and hold that space, that reverent space for the hurt of other people, so much healing can happen, And it's really rewarding to see people find peace and healing.
For sure.
And to talk about them, right? To pay tribute to them. I mean, that's something she faces a lot of, not necessarily knowing what to say or to say anything at all. And am I supposed to bring it up? And you want to remember them. You want to have them a part of you. So, now he's been gone from a physical standpoint for a long time. How is he still active in your life?
Well, one thing for me, and with our family and our extended family, is that we honor him in every year, and we honor him every day, just us together. But in how we do that is you know, he's funny. Like, he said the funniest things. Do you remember when he said this? Do you remember that he did this? And then, we have like his favorite food and have a picnic at the cemetery, and just remembering him. And then also, you know, like looking for things and looking, and I don't, maybe not things, but I see him every day. It's like I'm having a conversation with him, or, you know, he loved birds, loved birds, and wish he had a bird, you know, and he loved sunsets and sunrises, and you see birds at the time, but, so that, and when I see birds, sorry, I'm having all these thoughts, but when I see birds, I just am like, and they come, you know, close to me sometimes, I'm just like, hi, Mitch. I remember you, and you're with me.
No, that's beautiful. I think it's really cool that you guys practice honoring him every day, and then also practice communicating with him through these little signs like birds or maybe butterflies.
Yeah.
My sign has been butterflies with my son, and it's been really interesting because I'm realizing, just like any other relationship that you'll have with a person, my relationship with my son evolves. So it started with butterflies, and then it kind of went into rainbows, and recently it's boats, which is so random.
Yeah.
He passed when he was 2.5 years old, so I'm like, do you like boats? Is that what's going on here? So
Cute. It's cute. Yeah, it used to be butterflies. They just would come fly and then fly away just right where the cemetery was, and then it just kind of moved to birds. And then, you know, there was one day, if I could just share, but there was one day, and it was on his birthday, and I was running around like so much just with the other kids, and I was like, I have to go see Mitch. I'm going to do here, I'm going to do then, and it just never came. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go see him. And it was the end of the day, and there was this most beautiful sunset. And I was like, this was exactly the time when I was supposed to come. It's to remember him, remember the sunset. And I see him everywhere, everywhere.
it's crazy how close they are, right?
Yeah.
Chris, question for you. Grief isn't something you check the box on. I think people sometimes think of that like, oh, you're going through grief. Oh, okay, and then you graduated from grief, and now you're moving on, right? And so especially in the community, and as you speak and as you share, what would you say to people who have a very close loss like your own, 10 years out, 20 years out, 30 years out, of how to navigate that and still how to keep that a part of your life?
Wow, so many things to say, but I'll try to say this succinctly. I think that, you know, grief when in the loss of a loved one, whether it's a child or a spouse or a parent, you know, they all come and hit us in different ways, but grief is a chronic condition that will live with us the rest of our lives. And I think it's important to tend to the wound, to clean it, to dress it, and we do that by looking at it and taking out the dirt and the whatever pebbles, or however you want to metaphorically look at the things that are keeping it infected. And you do that by conversations with people to just say, remember this, and I'm hurting right now. Can we just talk about this for a second? You know, there's almost, we pathologize grief if we're not familiar with it. You know, we think, oh, you know, they died, you know, 5 years ago, get over it, like life moves on. And it's one of the most insensitive things anyone can ever say to somebody that suffers the loss of a loved one. And, you know, I would ask them, you know, at what point will you stop loving your child? You don't.
Wow.
You know, and as long as love lasts, grief will last. And that is what it is.
1000%. I've heard this term before that's stuck with me, and this person, they said, your grief is always there, and it never gets smaller. It never diminishes, but your life just continues to get bigger around it. And I was like, that's so true.
Yeah.
Because in my own experience of losing my son a few years ago, it's not getting easier. If anything, it's getting harder. I'm feeling things more. I'm less numb. And I don't think that ever will go away.
Yeah. I like to think of it too, is that the weight of grief will always be what it is, but our capacity to carry it we get a little stronger. And it doesn't mean it's any lighter, but we're just able to carry it with us a little more. At least that's how I look at it as well. But
No, I love that.
Can we ask what the book's all about? You're holding the book up here with you.
oh,
Aw,
it's my phone
it's his
case.
phone.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have this last question.
Let me read something.
This, he was gonna open up Earl Nightingale.
He's been sitting on that question for like 10
I
minutes.
was. I've been looking at the show. The phone
It
case
is a
here.
pretty cool book.
I thought he'd be like, this was Mitchell's book. And then what? All right. You brought your iPhone. All right. We can like end with a little laugh. Well, hey, thank you so much for opening up and sharing and continuing to share, right? Your story and Mitchell's story will benefit people for years to come, and you'll keep telling that. So thank you. Thanks for the perspective you've given us here tonight and sharing this. Is there anything either of you'd like to say in closing?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for letting us share our journey. I feel like the more we share, the more, like Chris said, we can heal, we can help others heal through our story and hearing their stories too, and your story too.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I'd love to
Thank you.
just make a comment too. Your backdrop is one of my favorite metaphors in life, and I'll just say one quick thing is when it comes to dealing with grief or any dark moment. You know, there was a moment when my son passed. I awoken shortly after he'd passed, and I got up and realized he'd gone, and I went through this existential darkness. And I remember, and there's a point here, a point of peace and hope, that I'd never experienced more darkness in my entire life. Like when I was in the shower, washing my head, going, I'm gonna have a baby. I fast forward, now I'm with this reality, like I've lost a precious soul I was supposed to protect. At any rate, I was so dark, and I just allowed my eyes, my spiritual eyes, to adjust to the darkness. And all of a sudden, I began to discern little points of light, little events in my life that were little blessings, big and small. And that's why I love that backdrop. And when I did that, I felt like a journeyman with an ancient map looking at the heavens as though it were, a star chart. And I realized all these things connected, and that I wasn't alone. And all the events that happened in our life, and we haven't even got into this, but there were so many points of light that connected in our journey. And so my hope is that other people can look at their own life and begin to connect those little points of light in their life. Because if I got help up to that point, and I could see that hand of heaven behind me, I can step into the future knowing that it's not going to be any different. Those blessings will come into my future. I don't have to worry so much about that. It helps me deal in dark times to look upward. When I close my eyes to the darkness, my real eyes open and I can see.
Your spiritual eyes.
Yeah.
I love how you said that. I've never heard that before. That's beautiful.
I'm going to look at our backdrop a little differently now. I love that. And I think it's that visual of, man, when you're somewhere that's really, really dark, right? Out in the middle of the ocean or something like that, and it's that overwhelming darkness, and then those little bits of light are what open that up. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of light shared on this stage tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it. You got through that, and about halfway through, then I felt like you came back.
I might have cried more than you today. That's new for us.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining
for
us.
having us.
That's this episode, and we appreciate you guys. Oh, and we totally forgot. She has a gift for you. At the end of every episode, she has a gift. You better take the microphone so you can explain it.
Yes,
But
okay.
you already saw it kind of previewed.
Yes, sorry guys, we're not done yet. So I started a jewelry company actually after losing my son. And I do remembrance pieces. I do permanent jewelry. I have my cute little booth right there if anybody wants a piece after this. But I also do remembrance pieces. So like I said, my symbol for Romeo was the butterfly. And my original piece that I am doing for my company is a butterfly necklace. So it was an honor to make your butterfly necklace, and I hope as you wear it, you remember that Mitchell is so close and the other side is closer than we can ever even comprehend. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cool.
Thank you so much.
It's a good song.
Mic check, testing, 1, 2, 3. Test, test.
Wasn't
Testing.
that crazy? Wasn't that crazy? I was like, it was so cool. And it's like, you're surprised, but then you're not. Yeah.
This in the mail.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I hope you paid for it too. Just kidding.
Testing. Hers is on. We can hear more, right? Okay, now I'm on.
Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2. Putting her to work at intermission. You
I know.
got it?
I told him to come and I'd fix his
Okay,
bracelet.
Good. All right, and then she can, if you're getting ones, we'll do it after. That sound good? But yeah, she's got all this. We're gonna get started. Take our seats. I'll talk here for a minute. No rush, Bree. You're good. We knew tonight was, going to be kind of a tender night, and appreciate it. First off, I would just love to hear. Anyone have any thoughts or impressions from that you maybe want to share? As you listen to that interview, something that was their favorite part that touched you or really hit you? Motherhood. Which, but the not knowing what to expect from it, and then all of a sudden having that whole, yeah, I get it. Any other thoughts? Anything that touched you today or stood out? It's pretty together. How many think Chris and Natalie are pretty cool? Yeah. Chris just took a picture of me up here. I'm like, the best part of the set isn't here, but she's not up here right now, and you take a picture without it.
I know, he's a lone wolf out there.
That's right. And then also, I just heard, shoot. I thought it was so cool that you brought up that you had someone here that was red. You just lost your grandson? Sorry to hear that. What was his name? Kingston. Yeah, how old is he?
Mother
2.5. Yeah.
Oh.
We've got a theme with that number here tonight. I think we've heard. Well, I hope you're doing okay and wish you all the best. Remind me your name again. Joanna and Kevin. That's right. Oh, all right. And you're friends of Chris and Natalie? Or you just saw them online?
There was a time our son was probably 12, maybe.
Hold it. Sorry, you're talking. I am like, this needs to be in a microphone here. Start over. I'm so glad we have this moment.
Is it on?
Should be. Yep, he's got you now.
Sorry. We have followed their journey and his beautiful words on Facebook from before Mitchell passed away. And our son was about the same age and stuff. And so that kind of resonated to us. Also, our youngest son was about the same age. And then we did pay a visit to Mitchell's headstone and grave and left them some flowers at one time. But because it was just so touching, but who knew that later on in life,
No.
that we would be sitting in the same boat.
Yeah.
Our daughter had our grandson 2.5 years ago. It was the day after Christmas. And at like 2 months old, we found out that he had, it's called brain factor 1, gene 6. So he's missing the chromosome 6, which is your trigger gene. And he basically had about 100 seizures a day.
Wow.
And he would never walk, talk,
How old
eat.
was he? 2?
2.5.
He was 2 months and 5 days exactly to the day when he passed away. Oh, 2 years. 2 years, 5 months exactly to the day. So he was born on December 26, 2022, and passed away on May 26th, 2025.
Wow. Sorry for your loss. Thanks for sharing. Can I ask, did you know them before tonight?
No, he had just posted that he was going to be in Lehigh, and just knowing his story and what we had just went through. So yeah, I resonated with what we're going through.
You know, it's interesting that you resonated with their story since the beginning, since before you even had your grandchild.
Yeah.
And so now,
Yeah, I can glean from everything that he wrote, so.
Yeah. I just want to say, I've been in the social media world for about 8 years now with individuals and helping them build their brand and all these different things, right? And it's really hard with social media because you make a post, you put something out there, and then you don't know what that's doing to the world, right? You might get some comments and this, you might even get a negative thing or two, or you think in your head and all this, but you put something out there like that, but so much of our world is isolated right now. It's not connected, right? And to see that over 10 years ago, you followed him, what you were sharing touched you, and now you came to this event, and to be able to be in the same room tonight, that's what we're trying to create in this space. And to see that happen, it's like, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And can we have nights in and nights out with not just us, all sorts of people that are putting so much good out in the world, and who gets attracted, who comes here, right? And so, like, that to me, you know, it makes all this worth it.
Yeah.
To see that moment and those connections, it makes your post worth it, and it makes you reaching out, and everything that you do and share, like, it's just amazing. I'm sorry if you're lost, and thank you for being here, and I hope that you feel him and just the love that's here today.
Well, and I think at the moment, you think you're the only one going through that, and because it's such a lonely spot, but yet to hear your story and to see someone else ahead of me in a sense, and like that's how I can take comfort, is to know that you walked in my same shoes, and what can I do, and you can help me along the way. So thank you.
I'll grab it from you. Thank you, Joanna. Can I get a hug? Yeah, all right, then we'll get started. All right, thank you. All right. How you doing?
doing good.
Episode 2, y'all ready? Okay, let's get right into this. We're going to the camera here now. That's all recorded too, by the way. You have your own episode. It's fantastic. a little mini episode. All right. Ready? Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fully Engaged. This is our second interview of the night. We are a little teary already.
Yeah.
It's been a great night.
And not just us, several people from the audience too.
Yes, we just had Chris and Natalie Jones on the show. Go listen to their episode. It was fantastic if you just heard it. And this night kind of has a bit of a theme around loss and how to pick up the pieces and how to move forward in that. And this couple that we're about to introduce you to next, loss is a big part of their story. And they also have a story of so much life and love and fun and joy, and that's what we want to highlight here tonight. We have Tragan and BK White that are here with us, and where this story kind of starts, we'll talk about in a bit. Tragan lost his first wife to cancer. If you followed her journey on social media, it was Kim Can Kick It. So a lot of people are familiar. How many are familiar with her or came here tonight with that story and what they've done? Fantastic. And basically, she shared very publicly her battle with cancer, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and left a family, left a dad, left a daughter, and that opened the door for another amazing love story to take root, and that's what we are going to discuss tonight. We're going to talk about BK, how the two of you came into each other's life, and your story. Bree, I know already in some of the conversations you've had with these two, this is a powerful couple.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, what I'm really learning in my own journey is that grief looks different for all of us, and it acts in different ways. And for me, grieving my child and then having a new child and also falling in love again has been so beautiful. So I think this is a love story that's really incredible and, just impactful that you can go through something so hard and then also find love in such meaningful ways.
I love that. We're going to find we have a little bit in common with this couple in some interesting ways, and all of us in the room are all connected. So please give a huge round of applause, warm welcome to the stage, BK and Tragan White. Come on up. All right. Set that guy down. All
And
right,
that's you.
come on up. How we doing, guys?
Good. Doing great.
The second interview is always kind of interesting, right? Because you watch the first one, and you've now
Yeah.
kind of been in this mode, and the whole time you're sitting there
You're
going,
a little bit more warm.
we're next, right?
Sweaty hands.
Yeah, Chris and Natalie, they're done. They're like, I'm out of that. Oh, how we feeling?
My heart's pounding.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah. I think, though, actually, that the audience should make it feel easier in this setting. Am I crazy for thinking that?
Yeah, maybe.
They're all like, no one can relate with me here. Well, you're not just talking to a camera in an empty room. At the end of the day, we're just, the support, you can see it. The love, you can see it right here, right? Thanks for being willing to come on the show.
Thank you.
She was the one that reached out.
Yeah, I was told.
So
I just felt really empowered after hearing your story and what you guys are doing before you get married. I felt like pushed in a sense to message you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our first guest we've had on the show that they've reached out to us. Most of them, obviously we've been introduced to someone or had a connection or we've known them, and to have someone reach out that way, and then we find out we did kind of know each other.
Long time ago.
12 years ago we had crossed paths and we found that, and so that's kind of fun to see. And then how hard was it to talk Tragan into doing this?
Not hard.
Okay.
I was
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think needs to be done for us, for our relationship. We need to, because I was in the social media world a little bit, and then I kind of like went quiet. I didn't make the decision to make my life public initially, and it became that way, and I just kind of felt like I didn't want that anymore. I just wanted to be private. I wanted my life to be private, not for any particular reason, but kind of slowly just wanted to protect my daughter. I wanted to protect BK. When we first met, it was like she didn't know me or my story at all, and it was like, oh good, don't ever post about me, that's cool. And I was
I don't wanna
like,
be judged.
sweet, that's awesome. So I just kind of, it was like easier to not post and write anymore. Because I didn't even know how to put into words what I was feeling and what was going on, and then trying to date, and I didn't want to tell everyone that I'm dating when I was dating,
Right.
because it was like, then that means the story's over, or I'm over Kim, or whatever. So anyway, it's something that we've needed to talk about, and she's like, hey, this guy I used to know has a podcast about how to remain engaged as a couple, and that's kind of what we're going through right now in our relationship. We don't have all the answers or anything like that.
So many people have said, Tragan, tell me what's going on. Like, are you good? What's going on in your life? Update us. Because they were so public. And he did move a lot of people, and he did help a lot of people. And I think that's one big thing I've learned tonight is I turned to him and I'm like, you gotta get moving back on social media, because sharing hard things that we're going through helps people.
Yeah.
It helps pick people up when they are drowning. And he did that a lot for people. And going quiet in that moment, that's what he needed, but I think it's time to pick it back up.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it's really hard too, like within grief and within loss, especially when you're doing it public. It's easy for people to put expectations on how you grieve, or perceptions on how they think you should be grieving, or when it's time to move on, or when it's time to fall in love again, right? So I can totally see where that was hard for you. And then also, from what I understand about your journey, is so much of your life was revolved around Kim's cancer, and it revolved around her beating that, or whatever that looked like. And then when she passed, it was kind of like, well, who are you?
Yep. Yeah, I went through that. I didn't know. My name on Instagram was, "Hey, you're Kim's husband."
Whoa.
Because I'd be walking.
Yes.
That's what it was. Well, that's what I made it
Oh,
as
okay.
a joke, because
Yeah.
anywhere
That's what
we'd
people
go,
would say.
Yeah.
people would stop us to talk to her, and if I wasn't with her, people would stop me and go, "Oh, hey, you're Kim's husband." And so it happened so many times that I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna change my name to Hey, you're Kim's husband." That's how everyone addresses me. And so I did that. And after she had died, and for a while, I was like going through therapy and talking with the therapist, and he was like, it's time to, I think you need to, he wanted me to take a break from social media. He said, I think we need to take a break and we need to focus on Traegan. And Kim has been your every waking moment for the last little while, last several years. So let's take a break until January. This was like October. Let's take a break till January. If you feel like you want to jump back into everything, writing a book, writing workbooks, and writing things that are going to help lift other people, you're going to need to be up here to help lift other people, and you need some lifting right now. So let's focus on you. And so that's what the initial pullback was. But
Wow.
yeah, so I changed my Instagram name to Traegan White. Very clever, but I was like, no, names mean a lot, and if I'm always going to be somebody who is a person that is known as in your relationship with someone else, then I don't have an identity.
Right.
And that had gone, so
Yeah.
I was ready to pick back up. But it wasn't ready to start posting, but ready to like take control of my life and be me, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I love that. Well, this is a great space to have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I think like one of the things we've talked about a lot of the judgment, right? The judgments of where people think you should be at or think you should be feeling. And it is this hard feel of you don't owe anyone anything, right? Like she didn't have to say a single word to anyone out there about what happened. But since she started sharing because she knew how much power it could have and that it could help people, then it's like, well, now tell the full story, right? When we started our first few episodes and going through, it was like, no one needs to know the details of the worst day of her life. But if you're gonna stand up and share and be able to do that, you don't want question marks or people wondering what if, like, wear it on your sleeve, you know? And so, awesome, and thank you for coming on, for being willing to do that. BK for giving him the push, right? And so let's start here. Typically we start with like, how did you meet? But we wanna kind of find more like, where were you both at emotionally, mentally, spiritually when you met? And let's start with BK. We don't really know you yet, right? So give us a little background to you and where were you at in your life when you meet this guy?
I was dating a lot. I was going on a lot of first dates, and I was playing volleyball 4 times a week and just kind of doing me. Just, you know, when you don't have any responsibility other than yourself, you're really happy.
Yeah. And
You know?
single, never married, no kids, right?
I've been married.
Okay.
I've been married, but volleyball has been kind of my way to escape anything negative, and it's really been grounding for me going and playing volleyball. I played volleyball my whole life. I love it. But yeah, I was really happy. I was hanging out with friends and just in a really good space, you know? I don't know.
Which is, I think, where people try to get after divorce, right? It had been a couple of years, and she wanted to, you know, meet herself or rebuild herself or whatever. So she was. I don't want to speak for you, but
I was looking for
Yeah,
a partner.
you're actively dating.
I
Yeah.
was intentionally dating and going on a lot of first dates and some nights creating a love story in a night, you know, and then see ya.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned in our phone call, because we talked before the show, but you mentioned that you have a history of loss yourself, and you've gone through things, and you have your own challenges that you've overcome and that you're working through on a day-to-day basis. Like, it's not just Traegan's loss and Traegan's things, it's you have your own stuff too.
Yeah, no, the same year he lost his wife, I lost my sweet sister. So I lost her the
Who'd
end
we
of
lose?
2020.
Sorry, guys. Where did Hunter go? I've never gotten that noise.
There's your
Who
sister.
not?
She's saying hi.
Who is it?
It's Jenna saying hi.
Who is it? For real? Yeah, you're just getting shut off. And Hunter walked out of the room right now, didn't he?
Hello.
There we go. Sorry, guys. Oh, okay. Well, the good news is Hunter, you walk out of the room for 2 seconds and the whole room falls apart. And you see that it fixed the moment he came back in.
Thank you, Hunter.
I told you nothing in this room happens with Hunter. Now, the beauty is we're going to edit all that out for everyone that watches it at home. You got that because you're behind the scenes. Okay.
No more bathroom
Yes, there we go. All right. But the live stream, you caught it too, those of you that are watching at home. Okay, let's get back to this. So in 2020, so actually, let's give dates for everyone. What year did the two of you meet?
2022.
2022, okay. And in
April Fools.
April Fool's
April
Day.
Fools. All right.
First date.
Okay. So you meet in 2022, and Kim passed in 2020.
Valentine's Day of 2020.
What?
Okay.
So right before
Love day.
Yeah,
my birthday was 2 days later, and then COVID hit about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, where they started closing
Okay,
down.
so we're gonna come back there. There's your timing, and then when did you lose your sister?
December 12th.
Of 2020. So both of you, without knowing each other at this point, go through major losses, and you were tight with your sister, right?
Yeah. She has a very interesting story herself, but you know, something happened to her terribly when she was 14. She was raped when she was 14. And it really, she went down a path of drugs and prostitution and you know, a lot of damaging stuff, and was an addict her whole life. And you know, when I'm out of therapy and couldn't do it, and got back on the pill, and she finally decided to get clean, and she found God and went through her whole journey. That must be, I've never been an addict. I don't really have that, but I can't imagine how hard it must be being mentally 16, but being 28 years old, going and getting clean, knowing you had to then enter the world mentally 16. Like, how scary is that? And she was clean 4 months and then died in a car accident.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the only thing that I can really attach that to is, you know, whatever spiritual being is out there, you know, is like, okay, enough. You did your job, you did your work, you asked for forgiveness from every single person in your life that you know, wronged, and come back to me now, you know. So that's what's made it okay for me to like get through that, because
I've
I was
actually
angry.
heard of that.
I was so angry. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you serious?
Yeah. I've heard of that being a thing.
Yeah.
So she gets clean, goes through that. You lose her in that way, and how did your grief look like after that? How did you go through all of it?
Sorry, I'm shaking so bad. Just give me a second.
You're good.
I couldn't breathe for a long time. You know, you see someone go through something so terrible and it affect their life in such a way that you want to do something but you can't. I'm shaking so bad.
It's all right.
Thanks, baby.
That right there is what this show's all about.
I had a really tough time, and my other siblings didn't, and I didn't really understand. I didn't understand it.
They grieve differently.
Now that's what I see on the outside. I don't know what happened behind closed doors, right? We're not very close. When my sister died, it blew our family up. We didn't get closer. We got more distant. To where I have a relationship with my mom, but I don't have one with any of my siblings. And it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad, you know, everyone grieves differently, and then you get angry and you don't understand why people are saying certain things. And anyway, it's tough. Loss is tough. Losing people you love is tough. They're no longer here, you can no longer touch them. You know, it's hard.
Yeah, you know, I think it's really unique that both of you have gone through incredible loss. And both of you have been able to, I don't know, be there for each other in certain ways that maybe other people can't or don't have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, dating is hard as it is. I didn't want to date. I mean, I did when we were dating. It was like, and before that, when I started actually, okay, I'm going to date.
I never wanted to get married again.
I didn't.
And at the time, how old was your daughter? So you and Kim had a daughter.
She was 7 when Kim died.
Okay.
Yeah.
9 when I met her.
9 when they met, yeah. But I wasn't like, I don't know, I forgot where I was going with that, but I didn't want to, I wasn't looking to date. Hensley, when I first started to date, it was like 6 months after she told me at one point, Dad, I think I'm ready to have a mom again.
Oh.
And that was about 5 months after Kim had died. And like I said, about a month after, maybe 2 to 4 weeks after, like COVID was running rampant, and then it hit hard. And so we were like locked in the house. We were just her and I, and it was already really hard. We were trying to just, you know, this might have been one of the mistakes I made, but I said to her, like, I've got you, you've got me, we're a team. We're gonna get through this. We are going to survive this, and we are gonna be happy again, but we're a team, okay? And later, years down the road, a couple years down the road, I realized how elevating her to an equal status with a parent. Like, we are teammates, we're not coach and player, we're
Made
teammates.
it very hard for me.
And you switched that.
Yeah, and to me it was something, that's just kind of where my heart was, like, I don't think I could do this alone right now. I don't know if I want to keep going if I don't know if I would have. I was never suicidal or anything, but I was just so down and so depressed that I was like, I don't need to get up. And COVID was going, I didn't have to work or anything. So we slept downstairs in the basement on the couch, and I'd wake up sometimes 4 a.m, and she's sitting there with tears running down her eyes because she hasn't closed her eyes in like hours, and just watching television. And days and days and maybe weeks where I would go upstairs to get us food, come back down, and we would just, and no one could come by and visit, like people were dropping stuff off, but it was just.
The sun was going up and down and up and down.
But after a long time, she goes, she's a little precocious, dealing with, like, Kim was diagnosed when she was 18 months old. So we took a different approach, I think, and we like, I didn't know how to navigate. I'm like, let's just be honest, let's tell everything. And we tried to be age appropriate, but I mean, she was like praying when she could first talk, please help mom not die. Every prayer, I hope mom doesn't die, things like that. And so it was really hard. So for her to say, I think I'm ready to have another mom, you need to find a girlfriend. And I remember I just started bawling because I'm like, why did you just say that? Like, I was not there yet. And she was ready to have a feminine presence as opposed to this grumpy, probably at the time, guy. And I'm just, you know, so I started thinking about it, and it took a like good 10 months before I started like thinking about it even.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point that you bring up, right? Of like, okay, you were both each other's person to lean on, but you both weren't okay. Like, you were both empty, and so in that spot, and I think that's something that's common for people that are grieving, of people you're grieving with are also in that, be it whether it's a family member, whoever it might be. Yeah. And so to think like you were each other's people, but neither of you were really in a position to be someone else's, right?
Right.
And did it feel like a bit of a teeter-totter of like who was lifting who? And
Us two?
no,
Or
you and Hensley in that moment.
Oh yeah. She in a lot of ways she's 10, 15 years older than what she is, because she's dealt with the idea of death from a very early age, and her mom not being able to pick her up because she was so weak and sick. Like, we got to the point over and over again where we just had to have somebody come live with us and stay with us to help, because she couldn't get up and make her food. She was 90 pounds, and we moved homes because the home we were in had 3 levels, and she had to go between all 3 of them. We needed a rambler so she didn't have to be hiking stairs all day. But Hensley learned to go check on her, and there's some really cute videos of her on Kim's Instagram about that, like where she would come in and check on her and ask if she's okay and stuff, and what can I get you? And she can barely talk, but she wants to get food for her. And after Kim died, she came in a lot in the mornings where I was still in bed, wasn't sure she was awake, and she comes in with a tray of food. And
You know, a TV dinner tray?
yeah.
I mean, there's many pictures of just the TV dinner tray filled with like
a pork chop,
chop
and some cereal and ice cream
whatever
all
she
in
could
one.
find and put together. Here, Dad.
It's really I think she probably helped me more than I helped her. A lot of times, when I think back to Kim, I think a lot of happy times, sometimes some bad times and things. When I think of Hensley in relation to everything that happened, I lose it every time. Because she was so young and so little, and telling me, come to the couch, Dad, it's okay, it'll be okay. And I lay down right here, and she'll sit down and would put my head on her lap and just sit there and say, it's okay. And I would be bawling my eyes out, because I didn't want to hide my grief from her. I didn't want her to think I was okay. I wanted her to know I wasn't okay.
Good for you.
So I didn't go cry in the bathroom or anything.
Good for you.
And I would ask her, are you missing Mom? I'm missing Mom right now. And she took care of me more than a kid should have to. Yeah. At 7, I wasn't okay, and it wasn't something that I expected to not. There's a lot of this story, and I want to talk about us, but there's a lot between Kim and I that was, after she first got diagnosed, it was bad. It was dark. It was toxic between us. And I thought I was doing everything that I could possibly do to help, and I wasn't, or I was told that I wasn't, or whatever happened early on. We didn't know how to navigate it, and it took years. I mean, she had cancer for 6 years in the end, and it was the last 2 years before she died where we were falling back in love and healing all the wounds that had happened before that. And so at the end, it was, 6 years of that, it was really, really hard and dark after a while, but Hensley had learned to be a good caretaker too, I guess. I'm very absent-minded, so if I lose my track a few times, that's normal for me, okay? It's maybe trauma, but I'll lose track right in the middle. I'm like, okay, where was I going with that? Holy cow. So anyway, it was Kim and I, I was talking about how our relationship was really rough.
Sorry, I have a question. Did that occur because of the cancer or after the cancer, or was that already a factor and the cancer just brought that and highlighted it?
It made it worse, definitely. It was, she voiced to me, so this isn't something that, it's really hard to talk about those hard times because I don't want to say something that she can't be here and defend herself. So I really try to stay away from that, but the stuff that she would openly talk about was, she was jealous because she knew she was dying. When she was diagnosed, they said, you've got a couple of months to live. And Hensley was 18 months old. We had just moved to Utah. And they said, this kind of cancer is really fast, really aggressive. You won't last the year, basically. And so she admitted to me and other people that it was like, that's not fair, that we're this young and I'm gonna die, and at some point you're gonna meet someone else and another woman is gonna raise my child. 2 children. We found out she had cancer when she was pregnant. And that was really dark for her. And the
How
problem.
could it not be?
Absolutely, but she, to me, I developed this toxic positivity. I was an optimistic person already, so every appointment it's gonna be all right. At least it wasn't this. It's gonna be, we're okay still. And it's not okay. Quit saying it's okay. You don't know it's gonna be okay. You don't know anything. It's not gonna be okay. Stop saying it's gonna be okay. And so, like, that's like an example of what I'm like, okay, so I quickly just stopped talking. I didn't want to. She would call me and tell me something else just happened, another doctor's appointment, and I just, okay. And then me being my snarky self, what do you want me to say? I don't know what to say. I want to encourage you, but I'm afraid you'll come at me for being positive. I don't want to not say anything because I want to show you I care. And so it quickly became we couldn't talk about stuff, and then she got mad at God, and God, why would you do this to me? And so, but it would come out, any small problem became a very big problem. And I mean, and to me, I'm like a dumb dude going like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't even know to like listen and say, I'm gonna listen because you need someone to listen. I didn't know any of the, you don't want me to fix it kind of stuff. Like, that's what I do.
You hadn't read that
I'll fix
book
it.
yet.
No, yeah. Like, why were you even telling me if you don't want me to try to fix it or make it better? And so I probably overcorrected and then found a happy medium. And, after years and people talking to her and we kind of slowly came back to each other, and things were really good the last 2 years. And, that's where we were going with that. We weren't expecting her to die. She had 50 plus surgeries, and every time came out on top. Every time they're like, you got another 2 months to live. That's it, like, for sure. And then we would try an experimental immunotherapy, and all of a sudden we'd go in and there was nothing, 0 cancer. And we're like, hallelujah, we did it. Like, it just took some faith and some trying, and here we are. And we go on a backpacking trip, come back, and she starts coughing, and her lungs are completely full. Mm-hmm. So they need another surgery, take out half of this lung, most of this lung, took out the liver. She had her inferior vena cava was made out of Gore-Tex. She started to limp because they damaged some nerves when they were going through her femoral artery for something, like so many problems. And every time she came out, okay. And so thought she was gonna be okay. This was one more surgery. It's like, we were scared, but we're gonna be okay. And so it hit us not like an illness that we're expecting it to go away or expecting it to take her. We knew that logically, but we're like, oh, this is Kim. You guys don't know Kim. Like, they sent her home on hospice, and it's like, she's like, no, just go to work. Go to work. We need to pay for all this, right? So go to work, and we thought she would be fine. And I got an emergency call and I had to come home, and like, it was like a sudden death. It wasn't like to us, it wasn't like, okay, now we're here, this is happening. We thought she would bounce back. So it was really out of nowhere for Hens and I, not out of nowhere, but we didn't think it would happen. So
Thanks for sharing all that. I think it's interesting you talk about the diagnosis, and at the end of the day, she was the one diagnosed, but it does happen to both of you, and it happens to your relationship, and you had opposite ways of dealing with that, right? At least initially, or at different phases. And we often, the people that we take it out on, or the ones that we vent to, or the ones that sometimes we show our worst selves to, are the ones that we feel the most comfortable with, right? The safest with, it's home. And so I appreciate you being willing to talk about that. There's obviously a lot of positives that are seen, and the goodness and the greatness there, but I think it's also kind of comforting to people out there to know that those that are winning the battle on grief and what you see on social media, or and whatever it might be, the hard moments are there too, right? And so and then you talk about very openly your hard moments of where you were at in grief after she passed. You're now in the same situation, and you two meet. Did you know what he was going through when you show up on a first date?
No, and I probably wouldn't have gone on that first date. If I'm being real.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot, and it's really heavy. And I don't think I was equipped. And even looking back, I definitely wasn't equipped to step into something like this. Like I was a late bloomer. I was really late to the game to mature. And walking into a family with such heavy grief, with Hensley and with him, and then separate, and then my own stuff. Sometimes, we find ourselves in this big collision of like, what do we do? Because her grief and my grief and his grief and all of our different traumas, we kind of don't really know how to handle those at some points of time. So it was interesting, but going back to your initial question, that where was I, but how did we meet? We met on a dating app.
Yeah. Love it.
And he didn't include all of that in his profile.
No.
Yes, he didn't lead with that.
I didn't know if it would scare people away or pull them in. It's like, if they knew Kim, they would be like, so I just wanted to, I'm my own guy still.
But it's so interesting because, when you like swipe or whatever, you see a face and you see some things that they write. When I saw his photo, I like paused, and I had a moment of like, I know this person. I don't know this person, but I know this person. Have you ever had that experience before?
Yes.
Where it's just like, I know you. We've never met before, but like our spirits know each other. And I've shared that with him, and he's just like, okay.
So you felt that immediately with him,
Yes,
not through his
when
profile.
I saw a photo.
Oh, through his photo.
His photo. I like paused and I like stared at it for a minute.
Oh.
And I remember this moment. I remember.
And it wasn't just the
thinking,
jawline.
No, but that is a great jawline.
Is it?
Easy. Got Gaston over on the other side over there.
No, but I just remember
Bare-chested
staring
Gaston.
at this photo and thinking like, I need to know this person. Like I know him. Like I need to. Anyway, we went on a first date, and he opens the door. And I'm like, you are so cute. And I just like had this smile all night. I just remember. It's just
So you had an instant electricity with
through a
him.
photo, and then I see him in person, and I'm like, I love you.
Oh.
It was mutual. But the I love you was like, I could see that happening.
Wait, you told him I love you on the first night? I'm like, for a second thinking that happened.
She texted me after that night, and she was like, I think I could fall in love with you, or something like that. And I was like,
It was a great night,
Yeah, so how did you feel? I mean, and how much had you been dating prior to this date?
I'd been dating for at least like a year.
Okay, so you'd been out on dates. Wasn't like it was the first one back in the game. Okay.
No. But it was, I had just gotten to the point that I was enjoying dating, though.
Okay.
Not forcing myself to go on dates. Because I'd had to have a nanny and like not a live-in, but like when I would leave, she would come and stay there with Hensley, get her ready for school and go. And at that point I was working in Nevada like 4 hours away, so I'd have to drive. So anyway, that was...
He definitely wasn't ready for me when I arrived.
No, I was okay going on a
life.
date every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
what did the dating process look like then?
Well, the first person I dated after Kim was somebody that I knew before, and her parents I didn't even know lived in my neighborhood, and they
live
were
like 4 houses down.
yeah, and they were ushers at Kim's funeral, and stopped me and said, "Hey, you know our daughter from college, from undergrad, we were friends." And so that was the first. They were like, they didn't try to like set us up or anything, but that's what planted her in my mind. Like I knew her freshman in college.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I started dating. So it was easy because I knew the person. You know, I didn't have to go meet people. And that was hard. But it was really hard. Like even like kissing, the first kiss, I felt like I stopped and I had to like stop and say, I'm sorry. I felt like I was cheating. Like, and it had been 8 months, 9 months after she had passed away, and it was really weird. It was hard. It felt wrong. It felt wrong to date. So it was 2 full years. 2 full years later that we met, and it felt real. It felt good. We obviously had a bunch of our issues together, but it felt right. Like we could joke together the same.
Yeah.
We could talk
that
all
X
night
factor
long.
that you look for in somebody, you know?
Yeah.
We just sit out on the
that.
couch or by the fire talking for
Hours.
Yeah.
We can talk forever.
Yeah.
Is that
Like
apparent?
Still.
I'll shut up. You keep talking. She's like, we talk about deep stuff too, like existential things. We talk about religion, which for me has changed a lot. My belief system is completely changed. And that's another thing that made me not want to share, I guess, on the tangent, is that Kim was very one way and very straight arrow, I should say. And I was always kind of this jagged line. But afterwards, like just things that happened, experiences that happened to me, everything changed for me. The way I lived.
The way you look at life, right?
Yeah.
Life, people.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
Everything changed. Everything felt different. And I questioned everything. Why did I decide to do this? Why have I always done this?
Yeah.
Well, it's
I don't
crazy, the timing of Kim's passing being around COVID. That's a time where the whole world was questioning everything.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
So the two of you, I'm curious, so you're going through big life changes, perspective changes in grief. You just meet this hot guy with a great jawline, right? And you're just like this, and you're in love on night one. I know, I'm teasing you. But on that, like, when did he open up about where he was at in life and what he was going through, and how did that affect you, like, hearing that first time?
You know, we dug in pretty deep the first night, and I think that's why I felt so strongly about him, because people just don't do that. It takes a lot of courage to kind of open up and, you know, fillet your heart open and share what's going on, especially when you don't know how people are going to react. Like, I had no idea. Like, there is a full-blown documentary out on this girl, you know? Like, she was a big deal here in Utah. You know, when we're in another state on a hike and people recognize him and stop us on the trails. You know, for a long time, people would go up and hug him when we're skiing. You know, they recognize him with his goggles up and he's in his full-blown suit and just his face, or at a grocery store.
Yeah.
It was really intense at first, you know, and people would say, you're Kim's husband, and I'm like, no, not anymore, you know, like
He's mine.
Once upon a time, you know, like someone even said that after we got married, and I'm like, he's my husband, you know, and so it's been a little weird for me to still honor her and that part of his life, but then also honor mine,
Right.
my current situation.
You've mentioned something on our call before this interview, and you said it was difficult feeling like you're living in someone else's shadow.
Yeah. You know, I think in a sense I kind of always will. You know, she will always be there. She's Hensley's mom, and
And there's a lot more to the story than most people know and than what you can even talk about.
Yeah, and I know that side of the story, and that's what's hard is I'm still learning. Let's just say I'm still learning to like love and honor her with everything that I know, and how this man was gutted, because I love this man, you know, and I show love very differently than Kim showed love to him. And I just didn't understand it. This like really great man, you know, why wasn't he honored and cherished by her, you know? And so I've really had to dig in deep those moments where I need to love her and I need to honor her because of Hensley and for Hensley. Because it's important for me to find that.
Yeah.
And I'm still figuring it out.
Sure.
It hasn't been a pretty journey for me doing that, because there's a lot of anger there too. You know, like kind of. I don't know if anyone will understand this, but it's kind of like I wish I was there to protect him during that time where he was treated so poorly. You know, like, don't treat him like that.
Sure.
And so it's hard. It was hard for me, and it still kind of is at times, you know.
This still comes up. Like we've been together for 3 years now, and it's still something, because it's so difficult to navigate. It's so hard to say. I mean, she hears only my story. She doesn't get to hear the words from Kim.
Which,
and her
by the
side.
way, is true for any divorce or
Sure.
any ex,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you're always, when you're dating, just hearing one side.
Yeah.
Of course, you're more loyal to your partner.
But it's more than
right?
that. Like,
but for
I hear
sure,
his
this is an
story.
extreme.
Yeah.
And I hear her family story, and I hear his family story, and I hear her friend's story, you know, and they all kind of sound the same.
But we're pretty self-reflective, I think. She's the first to say, look, yeah, I got divorced. It wasn't, this is what happened that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. But I can see now, like, how I was not treating him right. I can see now how I helped push this relationship to the point where whatever happened could happen. Right?
Yeah.
And so she's very self-reflective and can see that, and I can do that too, and I can tell my story and say, but that's what was coming from my mind and my experience. You know how stubborn I can be. She could see me being stubborn, and that's why she could be like, oh my gosh, you're not trying to help. You just want to look like you're trying to help or something. I don't know, but like there's a whole other experience that Kim had that was, I would probably look at myself and go, oh gosh, I didn't handle that well.
There are
Whoa.
times where I've given,
She's like,
you know, what I've heard, Kim, some extreme grace because.
because of how I am. And
Yeah.
I get that. I understand. But I still, that doesn't discount my experience where and so being so close, even before we were married, we had talked about those things, because going through therapy, my therapist helps me see that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I do that? That's why I act like that? Because I was so scared to be criticized, or so afraid to think that my very best effort isn't good enough and that I can't do anything to help this situation, that I slowly would withdraw and become cold in everything. And so that's something she has to deal with now. And so she'll get feelings about, gosh, I wish your previous relationship, I have to fix you because of what your previous relationship did. That's kind of how it comes out, maybe. And so it's a complete struggle. But if I can say anything about us, how to remain fully engaged, it's like we love each other so deeply, and I'm so fulfilled in different ways than I was fulfilled in my previous relationship, and it's beautiful.
This is like a great love, right?
It really is.
Like
We've gone through hard stuff, and we still fight
I've
for it.
loved a lot of people. I love love, and I love people. I've never felt love like this ever before.
Yeah.
And it's a really special thing to experience that. Like, I didn't even think it existed. You know, you love, but then when you love, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
I do.
it's different. It's like, wow, like you want everyone to experience it. A lot of people go through life and don't ever experience that kind of love for somebody.
And you guys just had a baby.
We just had a baby.
Aww.
10 months ago. And she is pure magic, pure joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm old to be having a little baby, so it's like it's harder. But she's an angel. We were blessed with an angel like this. She looks like an angel. She acts like an angel. She's just happy constantly, and somebody out there knew that my energy levels after life and where I'm at now are like down here, right? And so this so far, is this wood?
Yep.
So far, she's the easiest baby. She sleeps, she laughs, she eats.
She poops.
She sleeps some more. She poops, and they're nice and easily cleansable. Like even her poops just like, yeah, that kind of stinks, but not bad. She's just like a perfect little thing. So we're so happy. And Hensley is like turned a corner. At first, she was kind of like not knowing how to, ew.
No,
She's
With the baby?
Scary how
We were like worried, like this is a
there was
baby,
heat.
you know.
It was scary.
Really?
But she was just I think she was just feeling.
Let's talk about Hensley for a minute.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
first off, how did she handle all of a sudden when the two of you were together? And I mean, she asked for a mom, but then all of a sudden the reality of that's different, right? So those two transitions in Hensley's life, I'm curious.
Yeah, so to go back to what he was saying before of like their team.
Oh yeah. I forgot we were doing.
It posed a really big problem for me. Not a problem, but something that would constantly come up because I then wanted to be his partner.
Yeah.
And there was no longer a parent-child relationship. It was more like two people that are this team.
She had to grow up so fast.
She had to grow up so fast, but because of that, you know, when a woman comes in or has children, you want boundaries and you want rules of the home and you want things to kind of look a certain way. And it's not like I came in and wanted to change everything, but there were things that you see as a woman that you're like, we gotta make some boundaries with that. That maybe not be appropriate, you know?
And you're stepping into mom role
And I was
to
stepping
a
into mom,
soon to be teen
you know,
age girl.
Yeah, and that's been a really big learning curve because I was not equipped to do that. You know, I never babysat as a kid. I never changed a diaper. I never, you know, like I was a late bloomer. Like I just wasn't, I don't think ready at the time to do that. But I put those big girl pants on and I committed to it, and it's been ugly and beautiful and all of the above. Like we have experienced all of the emotion with all of the experiences, and
Yeah, it's hard. It's just hard to know. I've said this like 14 times, I think. You don't know how to navigate. Like there's no book written on that, on how to go through this. There's no book written on like, okay, how do we, I mean, there's books on integrating families or blending families and things like that, but there's nothing out there to help you, in my own heart and conscience, how do I express love and respect for my child's mom who's not here, and honor her because she deserves it. She was amazing, strong. Were there negatives? Yeah, but someone could say a lot of negatives about me, but it was hard. I don't want to explain too much because I don't want to explain something that was hard for me to overcome that puts her down. There's no way to talk about that. And then to share it on social media, it's not, you don't get over it like was already said. You don't get over it. And what I said, and it was kind of like what you said, there's like a box and a ball, and the grief is the ball. And as you go through life, your box gets bigger and the ball is in the box.
Right.
And it hits more often when it's the same size as the box. It's like hitting on all sides.
Right.
So you're feeling grief 100% of the time, all the time.
Right.
As you move forward and you read and you learn and you live life, that our box is getting bigger, our life's getting bigger, and that ball's still in there the same size, but it's going dink, dink, dink. Every once in a while it's hitting, and then once your box is huge, it's hitting into other stuff, and you don't feel it as often, but when it hits, you feel it just as strong as you ever did. And there's no way to do that and honor BK and everything that she deserves to be lauded for on social media. It's like I don't want to desecrate this.
Wow.
I don't want to desecrate what Kim and I had by saying, I'm good, I'm happy, I don't think about that anymore. Like, that's insulting almost to me. So you freeze up and you just say, yeah, I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to navigate through that. I don't want to. We got criticized for being happy and saying stuff, and I just got so like, this is something that everyone's going to have something to say about. So I just have stayed quiet.
A lot of opinions.
Yeah.
Everyone's got opinions, right?
And if they're not positive, just keep them to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just hurtful, and it's not necessary.
Yeah. I love one of my favorite phrases from Walt Whitman, and he says, "Be curious, not judgmental."
Yeah.
I think that's one of the themes of this show, right? And
For sure.
you know, like, I think your story, one, thanks so much for being willing to share. Like, you're saying you hadn't shared on social media for a while, and then you say somehow you felt comfortable enough to get up here and talk about this. Like, thank you, right? But everyone's situation in life has more elements than anyone could ever imagine.
More
right?
complexities.
Yeah, more complexity. And so you share your story and the dynamics. It's like, if I was taking notes right now on like the dynamics that are interesting, they're so long. And so there's no point in making a judgment. There's no point in making a projection because you really just don't know. And all you can do is try to connect, try to be real. And I see in both of you your desire to do that. Right? And it's hard because, like, with connection, I always say, so many people feel like they don't connect with each other anymore, right? And to me, you cannot connect with another person until you connect with yourself.
Yeah.
If you connect with another person, you're not connected to yourself, and that's just some mask or some role, and it's not a true connection at the end of the day, right? And I feel like both of you have gone through the process to find who's in here, and it's very admirable to say, I'm not comfortable being ready to be seen out by the world if I'm not okay with this connection first, right? And then obviously the next connection is with each other, with your relationship, with your marriage, with Hensley, your family, right? That dynamic of what that looks like. We're stepping into the same thing, right? Like, I have a little girl that in our home is treated as my own, but there's another man that's completely in the picture, and that's just dynamics. And there she is. Hi, Mars, right? And so anyway, I say that because I feel like you both are on the early steps now of having refound a piece of yourself, have found together who you are as a partnership, as a unit, as a family, and now get to kind of dip your toe back into the world of, do I feel comfortable enough connecting with others? And guess what? When that happens at the beginning, it's not going to be perfect. Sometimes it might be messy, and some people might have opinions, people might leave, and people might go, who cares? Right?
And also discovering your own story,
Yeah.
like your love story, your lives together.
And that's
It's been
a really
awesome.
beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what keeps you going, right? Like, if you stagnate, then you're inevitably unsatisfied, right? Because neither of you are trying. So we really do have a growth mindset where, I mean, we date a lot. We do a lot of projects together. We do a lot of things together.
We have a lot of fun.
We have so much fun. It's like, when there's a problem, it's like, would I throw all of that away because I'm mad because of this? No, like, we fill our life with so many fun things. And that might be something we have Kim to thank for, because she made me live a different way where it's like, we only have a certain amount of time. We're doing this. And we made lists. We had long bucket list of things that we wanted to do. We still live like that, I feel like.
And you wouldn't be you today if you didn't
Right.
go through what you've been through.
Yeah, yeah. So she wouldn't have liked me before. We talked about that before. What if we met before? I don't know. Like we probably wouldn't have liked each other probably. Like,
Church going boy, probably not.
yeah. Well, I was kind of like, yeah. If you met me when I met Kim, I had just like started going to church, and meeting her was like, ooh, God's telling me something. Yes. So I kept going to church for 12 years of marriage with her. And so it was, she wouldn't have liked that at all. And now she's more religious than I am. So we're evolving, and we have a very dynamic relationship where we have so many thoughts on so many philosophies and things. But I wasn't as open-minded before, and yeah, times in your
I'm
life
more
too. But
spiritual than religious.
more spiritual, yes.
Well, let's ask this. I'll finish with this question. I appreciate it. We got to wrap this up. But BK, tell me where you hope your love story goes from here.
Ooh, what a great question. You should have asked me that a while ago so I could think about it.
Some things are better spontaneous in the moment.
Where do I want my love story to go from here? You know, I would love me and Hensley to be closer. We have moments, I think more than moments, but when we're close. But when we're not close, it's really hard on everybody. We're really similar. We both have a fiery side. And we're both kind of staunch in our opinions, let's say. So I want that love story to look a lot better than I think it is with our love story. You know, I think just doing things to stay engaged with each other, like continue having fun.
Yeah.
And
having long talks.
And long talks.
We always do.
Yeah,
Every night
but like
we're up late
continue.
talking.
You know, and it's I don't know.
I want to be old and still going to concerts and like going to like a 5-day festival and like people going,
We love
why are they here? Like, come back for the seniors concerts later.
Yeah, I want to always like live life like a kid.
Yeah.
Like see the world like a kid. I don't want to lose sight of that.
Yeah.
You know, we're very playful. I'm very goofy. He's very goofy. I don't want that to ever leave.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to grow up.
Just like the little things I don't want to leave. And, you know, hard stuff happens and you have to deal with those hard things and hard seasons come. But I think if you wake up and still choose your person, I think, and sometimes you have to say, I choose you today. Like you have to voice it.
For sure.
You know, I choose you today.
Yeah.
I love you. I choose you, even though right now I hate you. Like you suck right now. But I'm still choosing you, even though you suck right now.
Well, that should be our subline for the show. Fully engaged. I'm still choosing you, even though you suck right now. I think that's it. All right. Well, we could go on this
good,
forever,
Dan.
and I want to continue these conversations. But thank you so much for coming on the show, being willing to share. And I hope that this is a positive step for you and opens new conversations and new healing. You have a gift.
I do. I actually left it on the table right there. Is there somebody who can hand it to me?
Hunter, will you grab a little necklace over here?
It's in that cute little black bag. I would like to give you a butterfly necklace, and so excited for you and your love story and your next journey, and yeah, just everything you've been through. And I hope that this necklace helps you feel close to your sister on the other side.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. For everyone in the audience, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
I thought you were wearing heels. I'm like, you're so tall. It's 6 foot.
Thank you.
I know. I'm like, wait.
Thanks, man.
I wear heels. I'm like,
No, it's hard.
I love how you.